Welcome to today's practice. This is an Odyssey through the senses, and it's all about regulating our system so that we can come back to a sense of center, of ground, of presence in activation, whether that's hyper or hypo arousal. So the senses that we'll be playing with today are the visual sense, so through our eyes, our auditory sense, so listening, sound, touch, tactile sense, as well as smell and taste. So you'll need an array of things that you can stimulate all of those senses with. So for example, here I have different things that I can touch with different textures, shapes, weights. I have different things that I can smell with very different scents, like a candle and Palo Santo, and a coffee, which I can also taste. I have some carrots for taste as well, because that's just what I had close by. And I can make noise with basically all of these things. I also have a little hand pan here, which I can make some noise with. And colored pencils, you might want some pens, something to play around with. So we're gonna go through this as a whole experience in itself, and you can get as creative as you like with this. If you're doing this alone, it's still a totally valid practice. And if you're doing this with others, it can be really fun to actually use a blindfold for just about everything except for the visual sight. And then if you are doing that with a partner, one person's blindfolded and the partner or the other people are the ones offering the stimulation of the senses through bringing something up close to your nose to smell, or touching you with different objects or in different ways to stimulate your tactile sense. As an example, but we're gonna do this as a little solo journey first. So once you've got your spread ready and a little room for you to move, you can set yourself up just in a comfortable seat to begin with, about at least an arm span of space around you. And soften your gaze or close your eyes. Feeling your way in and down from the top of your head, down through your face, through your head. You could exhale with some sound as you continue to descend down your body, your neck. Down through your chest and your back. Down through your shoulders and your arms and your hands. Through your abdomen, through your pelvis. Your legs, and to your feet. Bring your hands to your pelvis, maybe one hand to the front, one hand to the back. And just rock a little bit from front to back. Drawing your attention down into the base of your body through your movement and also through the depth of your breath, so you're breathing in all the way into the floor of your pelvis. And breathing out with some sound, your own sound. Breathe in through your nose And out of your mouth. And now keep one hand on the front of your pelvis. Bring one hand to the front of your heart. You can continue to rock gently front to back. Feeling into and also sounding from the space of your heart. You can bring that rocking to a pause. We'll clear the pathway between the heart and pelvis, heart and womb, heart and yoni, by sweeping the bottom hand that's on the pelvis up to meet the hand on the heart and back down. And as you do this, as you inhale, slide the hand down across your belly to the front of your pelvis, breathing all the way in to the floor of your pelvis. And exhale, back to your heart with some sound. Breathing in. And out. A few more times. Keep your hands at your heart for a moment. In your own words and way, honor and acknowledge your heart, your feeling capacity, your tenderness, your vulnerability, your longing and your love. And slide both hands down to the front of your pelvis. In your own words and way, take a moment to honor, to acknowledge this wise seat of you, this stable base of you, this creative portal of you. You can open your eyes and we'll begin with the touch. We'll begin with the tactile sense to come into the body to stimulate the sense organ of the skin. And so there are a variety of ways that you can play with this. You can touch your own body, and if you are doing self-touch, which I'll do a blend of, like a skin-to-skin touch, play with different amounts of pressure, different sweeps or strokes, squeezing, tapping, light, hard, all the different ways. And the idea is that you receive through your tactile sense, you receive this, you take in the feeling, the sensation of the touch. So I'll begin with self-touch, and you can follow my lead and then make it your own or do as you please. And I'm going to begin with a squeeze and release, like as this is called sponging. It's kind of like you're squeezing a sponge and then releasing. So I'm squeezing in on my arm and releasing. And I'm bringing my awareness into the arm that is being touched. Feeling and receiving the squeeze, the increase of pressure and decrease, the warmth of the hand, of my hand that I'm squeezing with. change strokes. I'm going to do a light sliding of my fingertips down my arm. Really taking in the sensation of this touch. And being in the part of the body, the part of you that's being touched. You might spend a lot more time in one place or another. I'm going to change body part and kind of touch. Now I'll do more of a tapping, light tapping with the fingers. Just receiving from inside my arm this kind of touch, this vibration. Being fully present to the sensation of touch. And perhaps changing that up. If I notice myself drifting into thought or something else, I can pause for a moment and drop my awareness back into my arm. From time to time, give yourself some moments of pause. And now you might use something else, like an outside object, to explore the tactile sense. I've got this crystal here, which is pretty spiky, and I'm going to press that into my skin. Just take that in. So you're using something, playing with the pressure. Really being in the part of you that's receiving the touch. Take a moment to pause. And still with the tactile sense, you can explore touching and receiving touch with your hands now of this object, this thing, whatever it is. Feeling the weight of it, the texture, the temperature. And you can put that down and pause. And check in, is there any part of you, of your body, that is requesting or desiring a certain kind of contact or touch? And if there is, can you do that, honor that? Could be a little self-massage. Could be a stretch. So you're building your capacity to be with your sensate experience, which is always present moment. This is the beauty of the senses, is that we can use the senses to come back to presence. And we can expand our capacity to feel more through our senses, to feel more pleasure through our senses, and to listen to the wisdom of our body through our senses for ways to regulate our attention and reorient our awareness back inside our body to the present moment. So this is our tactile sense, super supportive for coming back into the body, and that we can use it any time. It could be mid-conversation. You might notice people do this naturally, like if they're trying to feel themselves or calm down a little bit, they might rub their legs or rock back and forth, or kind of squeeze and release. Some people crack or move or wiggle their hands and fingers. So it's a very natural way to presence yourself inside of yourself. We're going to move on now to the next sense, and we'll go to the auditory sense. We'll go to listening and sound. So for this, you can absolutely play your own music, your own instruments, or you could just listen to mine. Whatever works. So I have this little, big handpan here that I can use. And so I'm just going to play some notes and receive that in. Take it in, especially through the ears, but you can feel it through your whole body. And so as you center your awareness back inside, imagine that you could open the windows of your ears to deeper listening, inviting more sound in, as if the vibration of sound could just ripple through you. auditory sense with the listening. Taking the sound in and noticing how that feels in your body. If it inspires movement towards the sound or away from the sound, honor that. If it inspires movement as if you want to move to and with the sound, honor that. And now you can explore sounding yourself, so making some sounds and receiving that in. It might be a breathy sound or a hum. Might be some chanting. I'll stay quiet here. You can either just listen to my background noise, or you could do your own sound for a moment. And at some point, if that inspires more movement, or you want to move to, with, towards, away from the sound, do that. Because for every sensation there is an impulse for action or movement, generally towards or away from the stimulus. Every sensation, there's a movement that goes with. And so often from a lifetime of training ourselves to just sit still and pay attention and be polite or whatever, we strip ourselves of these organic unwinding patterns that happen, these organic releases that happen when we receive life through our senses, which is actually how we engage with the world, is through our senses, through our body. We're going to go next from the auditory sense. We're going to go to, sorry, that's a bit loud. To the olfactory, to smell. So you'll really be receiving in the scent and taking it in through your nose, but then through the whole of your body. So I'm going to start with the leftovers of my morning coffee. Taking in that smell, and you might notice a desire to move towards, to smell more, or to move away from it, or any other kind of movement that wants to happen. I'm going to take the next scent. Smell this, Palo Santo. You can play with bringing it closer to your nose and farther away. Noticing if it's a smell you like and you want to lean in, if it's a smell you don't and you want to turn away, just allowing that. Another scent if you can. Noticing any response. I notice in myself that this one, not really doing it for me. And then allowing any movement that wants to happen, whatever that is. And we're going to move next to taste. So I'm going to go back to this coffee because it's here and have a sip. Slowly stimulating the whole of my palate by smelling, feeling a readiness, a desire. Taking in the layers of flavor, the lingering aftertaste. I'm going to go for one more taste. Rolling it around different parts of your tongue. And noticing how that feels in your body. Any movement, any wanting more of, you could taste more, drink more. Notice any tendency to want to come out of the body, out of the moment by thinking about. We'll just gather and collect attention back in to the senses, to the moment in the body. And we'll go to our last sense, the visual sense. So you can do this either just by looking around the room or watching me. Or you could do this in a way that I find a little more satisfying, which is also creative and kind of playful. So coloring, painting, and whatever you're doing, I mean, if it is pretty, good for you. I know you are an artist. I'm not in this way. So I'm gonna go more for just colors and lines and shapes. You do you. And so as you do this, you're going for what is visually satisfying and appealing. And one of my favorites, you might try this out just because it's fun actually, is to get a bunch of pens or pencil crayons, stack them together in one hand, and just kind of swirl them around into shapes and watch the color and the shapes take form. Pausing every now and again to take this in, take in your masterpiece. Maybe try a different stroke, a different combination of colors. maybe you actually go for a shape with more meaning. That's perfect. You're really just letting it be satisfying and fun. And you can do this one as long as you like. You might actually give yourself some extra time to keep drawing, sketching. And then give yourself time to keep going if you're in the middle of that, but to take it in, the shapes, the colors, the texture, as you go and when you're done. I'm gonna give you a little more time to be with that because I have a feeling you'll be drawing for longer. And if not, something else you can do is just trace the curves, the textures, the colors of what's around you. Like you're really looking at what you don't always see from afar or when you're thinking about other things. Looking as if you've never seen it before, not in this way, not in this moment. Notice how you feel as you watch, as you observe. Any way you want to move your body. And take a moment to pause, to come back in, to feel your pelvis, your legs, your feet, your heart. And feel the way you're feeling now. Perhaps a sense of center and ground. Perhaps a sense of presence, of regulation and integration. Take a moment to thank your body, the miracle of your body, the sensitivity of your senses for your direct access into this moment. So this completes this practice, and I encourage you to do this, and you can play with one sense at a time or all of the senses and play around with your different arrangement of objects, of things, of doing this solo or with others. And this is really about expanding your capacity to be present and in your body, which means in the moment. It also helps you to regulate your nervous system so that you can come back down and into present moment in your body. When you're hyper or hypo activated on a nervous system level and a whole body level, then chances are you're not actually in the moment. You're not experiencing the present moment unfolding. And I do believe that the reason for being is to be fully alive and fully engaged with life, which means being present in our bodies. And I also believe that that's where deep healing and integration happens, is in the moment, through our body, through our senses. So I will also offer a guided meditation practice, an audio, which will be a little bit different in terms, it'll be shorter, and the order of senses that we go through is different. So this actually followed the developmental stages of our senses in utero, and the other one will not. It more follows what we use most, and as a way to regulate. So thank you for being in.